Wait, we're still in autumn? So we're not gonna get a Christmas episode? You know what? I'm gonna wear this hat for the next couple weeks. I ain't going to let some pandemic ruin my festivities, you hear? We opened this week with Asumi giving her friends a very important announcement. She got a job. Yeah, just ignore the fact that she doesn't have any form of identification or anything. She managed to get a part-time job selling those questionably colored manju. Okay, maybe there's a reason they didn't ask for ID. Well, congratulations, Asumi. You've officially graduated from the title of Cure Neat. What's your excuse? And seeing the former NEET finally get out of the house, Rablin figured she and the other healing animals could spend the day having a fun little tour around the town. Meanwhile, in the healing garden, okay, that's different, the Precure's work was showing results as the Byogen's influence on it had dissipated significantly to the point that we actually got to see some pretty awesome animals. Oh, I'm not talking about these big stupid kitties, I'm talking about this guy. What sort of animal are they, and why did they turn towards Teatinu? Does that mean they're also part of her elite guard? How many Byogens have they defeated? I demand we get a prequel where we learn about this little guy's backstory. Okay, but seriously, these two veteran healing animals were pretty awesome too. Made even better by the fact that they were voiced by Bato and twice. And as we learned by the end of the episode, all three of them were planning on going to the human world to support their young disciples. Speaking of whom, the healing animals had arrived in the park to play some good old kick, or in Latte's case, headbutt ball. They had everything set up, including a virtual crowd of elementals, but... Boy, wouldn't that be a crossover. But no, actually it was a straight piece of garbage, as many tourists had failed to respect the no littering signs. Fortunately, there were some volunteer workers there to help clean up the mess. Seeing them working so hard, the healing animals decided to help out. Oh, dude, you just got chewed out by Edelgard. I'm jealous. At the same time, the partners were at school, specifically art class, where they were sketching portraits of each other. Nodoka seemed to be a fan of Junji Ito style. Also, yeah, Aoyuki is a much better artist than that. Like, damn girl, you won't cosplay Shuta and yet you can draw her that well? I'm guessing Chu stole some of Yuki's work. But yeah, this was a good scene where we got to visually see the general personalities of our heroines reflected in their art. No, I'm pretty sure she's planning on taking her concepts to the animation studio. Can't be worse than her actual upcoming lineup. Coincidentally, the healing animals were also sketching portraits, in their case of a single flower elemental. As a result, we also got a fun callback to Rablin's obsession with a certain purple plushie thing. Interestingly, this week's staff was made up of a lot of the talent from episode 26. You know, the clip show episode, including the animation directors and the writer. And as I mentioned in that review, Kari Kaneko here is a bit more of a Kamen Rider and Super Sentai writer. It's as if they're asking me to make a video series where I analyze the main connections between these franchises. On a side note, her latest episode of Cure Major was excellent. Do yourself a favor and go watch that show. But yeah, I'm guessing that clip show episode helped her get informed about this series. Meanwhile, in the Byogen Kingdom, I feel relieved saying that, Guairar and Shindoinen had their usual squabble, though anyone else kinda shipping these two at this point? Anyway, she was just surprised to see Muscles McGee reading anything, which turned out to be a how-to book on making muscle poses. Hey dude, if you're interested, I can let you borrow one of my Blu-rays. Really good series, I hope it gets a sequel. Back with healing animals, they were picking up chestnuts and other produce to take home as souvenirs. In the process, Rablin was almost caught by a little girl, but was saved by one of the local farmers who told her not to disturb the animals, especially in the current state of the world. Still, he did leave them some food, though I hope that's fruit and not cheese because you really shouldn't feed rabbits dairy products. With that, the healing animals were able to sit down and have a nice little picnic, and everything was going great. That is until someone decided to be a total buzzkill. Yeah, that is often the most bitter pill a superhero team has to swallow. I mean, at least our human protagonists have their full lives ahead of them, but what exactly do these three have? I mean, these little guys have been every bit as developed and as heroic as their human counterparts, which is a huge step up from previous seasons that maybe had one mascot that managed to stand out. Thus, they've not only managed to gain a decent amount of views on their YouTube videos, but now, a lot of us can say we are concerned about what they're going to do after this conflict is over. Whatever you might think about the show, I think we can all agree one of its greatest accomplishments were the healing animals. On a side note, beautiful shot here. However, Dyson managed to provide them with an easy solution. Just let them infect the planet. Of course, he then moved on to threatening Latte, but the little guys protected her and told her to go get help. Honestly though, I doubt Dyson would have tried to finish any of them off so quickly, and would rather toy with them in all the wrong ways. The farmer tried to help them, but got a backslap and a Nana-byoken for his troubles. Thus, we finally got another Giga-byoken after a while, and oh come on, the dude didn't have that much of a beer gut. Anyway, the healing animals tried to rendezvous with their partners, but Daisen continued his earlier speech about letting the Byogans infect the world, so that their job would technically never end. His horns definitely made for a nice temptation of the devil image. However, as I've said many times, these little plushies were just as much heroes as their partners. With that, they engaged the Giga in a good fight mostly for how it was structured, as after regular physical attacks failed, they wisely switched to inflicting status ailments. And it almost worked, but some interference from Daisen mucked up those plans. To make matters worse, the monster took aim at the farmer's garden that had been established earlier in the episode. The original trio tried to defend it while Asumi went on the offensive, but apparently it could attack with its mouth too. Now, I would say she should have tried to attack from behind, but then we would have missed out on this awesome scene. Okay guys, please stop. I'm legitimately running out of ways of saying how amazing these little plushies are. With that, they finished it off with the arrows, something else we haven't seen in a while, rescued the farmer, and gave all the credit to Rabbelin. He didn't seem to notice that the rabbit was standing on 2 legs and wearing a mantle, but I guess he figured he was suffering from brain damage or something. And with that, the episode ended on a hopeful, yet kind of bittersweet note, as the healing animals clearly knew there was no guarantee they'd be able to stick around once this fight was over. This was an episode all about the healing animals. How could it not be good? I mean, as I said, these guys are just as much heroes as their respective partners, so just seeing them having fun or being the bravest little plushies ever is a joy to watch. I have to give credit to Kaori Kaneko. As I said, this was only her second episode of this series and Precure in general, and yet she managed to get the characteristics of the Spotlight characters down pat. Speaking of whom, I cannot describe how refreshing it is to have a season where all of the mascot characters are just amazing. The healing animals are easily some of the most proactive fairy partners ever. Yeah, they couldn't put up any sort of fight without their partners, but their sheer determination is just so admirable. To me, the truest of heroes are the ones willing to shoulder the burden others can't and know fully well they might suffer instead. We can both cheer them on and sympathize with them over their inevitable partings with their friends. As a result, this week's fight, while just good on its own, became fantastic thanks to these guys just being given their crowning moment of awesome as they solidified their resolve to protect the planet. They even managed to throw in a firm yet not preachy environmental message, surprised it took them this long. And even though they were justifiably out of focus this week, the Precure still had some fun moments here, like Asumi getting a job, and the art class scene was funny. Moreover, we got a little plot development with Tiatinu and her 3 elite guard declaring that they were coming. So overall, this is a very productive and really well done episode for the hardest working mascot characters ever. These little guys showed that even plushies know how to throw a few good punches. I kinda mentioned this at the end of my last Ojamajo Doremi review, but I should probably clarify myself a little more. I know about the leaks for the upcoming season, but I won't talk about them here. I know a lot of other Western YouTubers, I haven't seen any Japanese YouTubers talk about it, are making multiple videos about it, but as I said, I don't want to spoil things any more than I already have for anyone who wants to go into the season with a fresh perspective. I've also heard it caused needless stress for creators like Toshie Kawamura, who had to mitigate the discourse when Hakuto was leaked. Besides, I don't like to follow trends anyway, so just wait until next month, and I'm sure there will be a lot more info from some more widespread and official sources. Cool? Okay. So, until next time though, for now, my friends, happy holidays, and why usually doesn't get snow? My laundry!